Yeah, I thought that was like spoke to the strength of the writing, because I feel like your songwriting on this album is like the star of the album. Like I love so many things musically, but the songwriting really stands out. And it's just like you said, all the stuff you're talking about could be at any time and are helpful at any time. So I
Mm.
really like that. The name A Thousand Ways, in A Thousand Ways, you say there's 1,000 ways to get there. And like I wanted to let out a little tear when that part came, because no, I really felt that. I was like, there really is 1,000 ways to get there. Talk about choosing that as the name of the project.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. I just felt like I had, so I was in a band for all of my 20s essentially. And, I left that band. And when I left, like, I had a total identity crisis. I had no idea who I was. I had no idea what my worth was as a human being. And I think that as I kind of started to heal and get better, in my mental illness and stuff too, it was like I had a bunch of these realizations of like, how I was existing in the music industry before was not really healthy for me. And like, the band was kind of the singular focus of my life, and I was working obsessively, like borderline desperately. And, I felt like I was kind of getting bombarded with this messaging of like, you have to work harder than everybody around you. And that's the only way you're going to have any sort of success in the music industry. And like, I think that there definitely is, like, I think that kind of lifestyle, I don't mean that it's bad for everybody. I think that some people really thrive in that environment and it works really well for them. I just felt a little bit like maybe it's not a one size fits all kind of approach, and it didn't work well for me, and it doesn't work well for me now. I try to kind of look at my job like anybody else looks at any other job. And, there's like it's what I do. It's not who I am. I try to have like a balanced life, an integrated life with, friends and a social life and hobbies and stuff like that. And I think that there was a while when I was in my last band that I didn't think that was possible.
Mm.
That, like I thought that I had to work obsessively or else I wouldn't be able to have any sort of like make a living, make any sort of income. And not only that, but like any failure that we have was my fault. That's how I was kind of internalizing it all. So I kind of had this, realization of like, maybe there's another way to do this. Like maybe I can have an integrated life and get there. And like if the bottom line is like, I was like, I want to get clear on what I want. And I realized that I just wanted to make art and make a living making art. And that's a much more like, there are a bunch of ways to do that, like maybe that's when I kind of started to look into like production and engineering. And,
Mm.
like even if I have to bartend, like I'm obviously not working now, but I was, working in the service industry my whole life up until this point. So like, if I have to do that for longer than I imagined, like if that means that I can make the art that I want to make, then, maybe there's just a bunch of different ways of looking at it. And so I just felt like that kind of captured the whole essence of like the EP, where I am in my life and all that. That's a very long answer, but
Now that you answered it perfectly, because I felt super connected to this project, as if you were talking to me or about me, as if I was somehow a part of making this project when obviously I was not. But you saying there's 1,000 ways to get there and talking about kind of that mix of I just want to make art and all the pressure that comes with you want to work the hardest, you want to feel the success, like that is such a huge part of it's like almost ingrained in you, and you usually don't feel when that starts. Like when that feeling starts, you don't usually pick up on it right away. Only when it's become part of your thinking do you realize it's a thing. And I think about all the time when artists would talk about making a project in 2 weeks or 1 week, or we were in the studio for 10 days and knocked this out. And in my head, I was like, so what are you doing for the rest of the year? Like, that's wrong. Like,
yeah.
that all the ways you're taught to think, like, that's wrong. Like, you're doing it too quickly. And,
Mhm.
You know, and these amazing songs and amazing music would come out of some of those 10-day projects, 7-day recording sessions. And it's you know, it's almost like freeing that they were even able to do that. And it, you know, it helps you kind of realize there's more than one way to skin a cat, which is what you're saying, 1,000
Mhm.
ways to get there. I want to talk about this being your first kind of solo offering as a full project, but it coming out when you can't even tour.
Yeah.
Because I like, I can imagine how many fans, you know, you would even get more seeing them getting to see you live. And obviously we have this whole Zoom live nonsense that's going on, but it's obviously not the same. Did that affect how you know, put the project out, or what was on the project, knowing that you couldn't perform?
I mean, it definitely affected the release strategy. So, like, just for context, I recorded this in November of 2019. And then the plan was to, so I'm originally from Newfoundland and Labrador. And like, I was based out of St. John's for a large chunk of my musical life. So I wanted to, like, go home and play this festival, and that would be the big release. And that was scheduled for the end of May. And I was like, you know, literally gearing up to, like, book a bunch of shows around it. Like, I was like, had a list of, like, Toronto venues and all this stuff. And it was like, I think, uh, like a week before they announced the festival or something was when the big, like, pandemic announcement happened or whatever. And like, honestly, it was devastating. Like, I really, I became a musician to perform and to tour. And, like, you're right, the Zoom thing is just not, it's not the same. And, like, you know, even as, like, an audience member, when I watch these Zooms, all I feel is, like, sad and nostalgic for not being able to experience it live, you know. And I've seen some, like, really incredible, really well produced shows, but it's just like, that's the really wonderful thing about live performances is that human connection, right? Like, it's being able to be in a room with all these people, and um like, I love going to shows almost as much as I love playing them. So, like, that's a big part of me being a musician. And the answer is no, I didn't. I didn't have any plan to kind of scale it down. I had to kind of, like, I mean, I guess fortunately a lot of the songs were written originally, like, either around, like, an acoustic guitar or a piano, so a lot of them kind of work in that way.
Hmm.
But no, it definitely was not. It just completely, uh, I don't know, took me by surprise, or